There you go. I think we're good.
It's looking good.
John, how do you pronounce your last name again? Is it Delia or Delia?
You got it right. The first time, Delia.
Delia, yeah. I was banking on that. Dude, thank you very much for doing this. We've been trying to find a suitable slot to do this.
Oh, no. And, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're a family man. You get you get priority over a schedule like that. Like you have to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes up some time. That's for sure.
I know. I'm
it's
lucky.
Good. It's good time.
I don't have kids, so I don't really know what it's like to have kids. I know that not having kids, I get about 15 hours extra in a day. It seems to be the going rate. But thank you very much for doing this. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you as well. I had one of these with Lance a while back, and the timing seems to be right because there's changing happening in Retroware recently. And for folks who might not know who you were one of the co-founding fathers of Retroware TV. And I don't know, do you want to describe what Retroware TV is, maybe, for folks who don't know
sure.
what it is?
Yeah, Retroware started about 11 years ago. It's basically a website for it was a place for Lance Cortez and I, who we wanted to make these video reviews after watching, Angry Video Game Nerd on YouTube. There's only a handful of guys back in 06, 07 that were doing online videos, and we had this production background, and we loved collecting old video games. And I mean, that's 11 years older then, so we were playing Atari games and television, Nintendo, of course Super Nintendo and all the Genesis, Sega games. But we wanted to put something up on YouTube, and after we did that, it was Lance's idea to, instead of just having it on YouTube, why don't we have a landing page? We'll make a website so that we can have a forum, because forums were huge. I mean, it was just like everybody had forums. It wasn't just commenting under videos like discuss modules and things like that. It was
forums.
We need to have a forum.
The shit, you had to have a forum, yeah.
Yeah, and while we were doing that, we started making. My first review was on Snatcher, and Lance's was on like I think it was Ninja Gaiden on the Sega Master System, or Double Dragon on the PC Engine. I can't even remember at this point, but we did a couple videos. We made it like a full-length show. It's very similar to the GameSack format. They've done it a lot better than we used to, but.
I like GameSack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah. I mean, the show is incredibly entertaining. Yeah. And so the site became a landing page for other video makers that made classic video game shows, and that's how we first met. Ben Hall, who did Video Game Takeout, and we met Derek, who Happy Video Game Nerd, and Pixel Dan. He's probably the one on the site, and as this grew, we were promoting, we had our logo out there, and then the site over the years started bringing in new people who wanted to join in, and we never paid anybody for it. They just were able to join our community, and it's, get some more popularity, groups, basically a family of numbers that we can, work together and, grow a fan base. And it was fun. We did it for years and years, and we're still doing it really to this day.
I've been a fan of Retroware now for years and years and years. I mean, I discovered a lot of popular YouTubers like Pat. I discovered from your channel, Game Chasers, Rue as well. I remember. I don't know if he's still active, Rue, actually, but I remember. And then it was such a cool. And like you said, it's funny you talked about GameSack, because that was I think that's probably why I like GameSack as well now, because I really enjoy your early reviews, and I was rewatching actually before this. I was rewatching your interview of Walter Day.
Oh God!
Yeah, and he's a character. I would have loved to meet him actually. But and I have some of your DVDs actually, the early Retroware DVDs in my gym in the shed.
Thanks.
And I watch them. I rewatch them regularly whenever I have the treadmill going, or I have a bike as well there when it's raining, and it rains a lot here. So I have to train in the shed. I put them on. It's just really cool. I know it's sad and watch the same stuff again and again.
Yeah, sometimes I go back and I watch some of the old stuff, and a couple of the videos I've done and many of the videos Lance has done, I go through and I'm like, yeah, those weren't so bad. They still hold up a little bit.
They really do.
Everybody has so much more technology to work with these days. The production is just beautiful. I mean, it's incredible what people, when we had 240p on YouTube and, not ad supported, and you had a 10-minute time limit, it was so tough. I wanted to make these epic long things, and when we thought we were going long, it was like, 9 minutes, because people didn't have the attention span to watch stuff online like they do today, I guess, or, streaming it over the top to your television easily. That just wasn't something that was happening. So it's great. It's, we evolved a little bit. Lance and I had families and made things slightly more difficult, but we try to keep up.
Yeah, because I was again, like I was running the other day on the treadmill, and I was watching some of your early stuff. Like, we're talking 2008.
Yeah,
kind of stuff. 2007, 2008. But it was, the production value was quite good on these. I mean, for early YouTube content, it was up there. You had music, you had effects, you had scrolling stuff and text moving and things like that, and it was quite professionally done. Obviously, you have a background in editing, or
yeah, I went to film school, and so I learned, a lot of shooting techniques, and so it was actually really funny. Lance went to communication school, and he learned broadcasting as well. Yeah. And what was hilarious was, we were both working at A&E Television, or the History Channel here in the States. Oh. And, we became friends there, and it was, over time.
Oh, so that's where you met?
Yeah, that's where we met, and we were both working in the production library. And while we were there, we both found out we were video game fans, and we wanted to do something more about that, play games. We hung out, and we fell in love with the online videos that James was doing. And what we knew that because we were doing a lot more administrative stuff, we weren't really using our production chops as much. Yeah. So, man, when we got together that first day to shoot our first episode, we had two guys that were helping us. One guy on sound, one guy on video. We were recording separate sound. we had lights from Home Depot set up, and we had we even had a we had a marker too, like a click, to
oh yeah,
sync sound where we thought we might have to, because we didn't want to record on board on the camera because we didn't think it was good enough. And man, we made things overly complicated. It became a little simpler after that. Oh boy,
that's really cool. I don't mind. Hello, Connor.
This is Connor.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is I put this on a par with, because whenever I talk to people who are into games or developers, it's all right, he's okay.
My God, I'm sorry, man.
No problem. Whenever I talk to developers nowadays, and how to people develop a game now as opposed to back then, or even composers, and just the tools that are available now are so advanced, and they are first available for quite cheap. Back then, even early days of YouTube, the technology wasn't quite there yet. Like you said, it was 240p or 3 whatever, how many p's.
Yeah,
it was low res. The equipment was still very expensive. I remember audio equipment for me was just so outrageously expensive, and then the parameters you had to work with were much more narrow. Like that time limit on videos was 10 minutes, and there was already an improvement upon the previous time limit on YouTube videos. It was a different time to be making content, and there wasn't many of you. I wasn't on YouTube then, but there wasn't a lot of yous back then doing videos on YouTube. Like you said, it was the AVGN. I remember, yourselves, I didn't actually know about the AVGN at the time, but I knew about Retroware. I had stumbled upon it by chance, I think.
That's my wife behind me, by the way.
No, that's okay.
This is like that video of that guy who was doing a news interview and the kids just run into the room. That's what's going on.
There you go.
You got to go see Mom.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. But it's just it must have been a very exciting time though to start making videos. Especially, it wasn't monetized, and it was just purely for fun. Clearly. Oh
yeah, it always was. It was always something that, we never made a lot of money. I mean, we made enough money, especially after the DVDs started getting made, to kind of to fund the ability to go to an expo, to maybe cover a hotel room so other guys from the site could come along and we could all crash on the floor, and that was sort of.
It's still like that, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we ended up having Ever and then later on Blip, we were able to monetize before YouTube even had ad revenue. Yeah. So for a while, we kind of ignored YouTube, and it sort of bit us in the ass a little bit later on because we spent so much of our time releasing things on Blip or Rever and sort of ignoring YouTube because it wasn't monetized after, I guess this must be like 2009, 2010, that we didn't build the big subscriber base like we could over those years. But in the meantime, it was it was just great because all these people we discovered on YouTube, it kept growing and growing, and our name was big enough at the time that we were able to really get some new guys to join up and just kind of be part of the team, be part of the group, and that's what has been so enjoyable. I mean, I still have, and you've signed it too, that Nintendo, that NES that has like signatures of everybody. This is why I don't make as many videos anymore. But yeah, it was a blast, and it was so cool to be there at the beginning.
What happened to that Nintendo? I remember that. Actually, I'd forgotten it. I'd signed that, yeah. What happened
I have
to
it.
Oh, you have it?
I'll show you real quick.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, there was a Nintendo Entertainment System console, and we all signed it. I remember it was the first. It was the first Retro World Expo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome.
You're on here somewhere, but yeah,
somewhere. Yeah.
I brought this. I think I know where you are actually.
I did a tiny signature. I didn't take much room.
But either. Oh yeah, there it is. It's right in front.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. So we. He's in Ireland.
Yeah. It's a long way away, man.
But we had it was just I felt so proud that we would get together as a group at MagFest or at any expo we could go to, even the Retro World Expo, and it's fun.
Yeah, that Retro World Expo was super fun. I remember I was only able to go to two, but I mean the first one especially because that was my first convention ever.
Really?
And then and then seeing everybody there was just really, really cool, and how relaxed. And I was talking to Lance about it. What was nice is that a lot of these YouTubers that were there had been on Retroware for a while, and then they left, decided to leave, but there was still a sense that it was just still a Retroware family, or at least for that weekend. Like, it was very, very a tight-knit group of like-minded people. It was really, really nice to see.
Yeah, the thing was, it's funny because people have. Oh boy, you might have to pause for 1 second.
No worries.
I'm gonna try to get.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, 1 minute. Yeah, always fun.
Oh, good. It's no big. I remember I did one of these, and the girl had her dog. She had two dogs, and they kept coming on shot, trying to look who she was talking to on the camera. It was just the weirdest thing. It was really funny.
It's pretty much what they are. They are just big animals.
But
monkeys,
I don't know.
Monkeys.
We'll probably do a cut, but for people who wonder why the video switched, your child was enjoying the video very much, and you had to remove him. There were screams and child molestation caught on camera.
Yeah, they were.
But yeah, we
love being involved.
We're talking about the Retro World Expo, and I was getting the feeling coming from totally outside that group, and for the first time to a convention and into the Retro World family, the Retroware family, that there was still a sense that this was still a big family, even though some of the YouTubers like the Game Chasers, I think like Pat had left Retroware as well, but it was still a big family, which was really nice and refreshing, and very, very enjoyable experience, I have to say, and really fun.
Yeah, I mean, people have come. I joke every once in a while that we're kind of like the minor leagues. Like we would get a few guys who like would be on for a couple years, sometimes really short period of time, and then take off and get huge somewhere else. And honestly, more power to them. We were just happy to have them when we could, and so but we've never really had anybody leave with any real negativity, and we've stayed friends, and because we were always friends. And we joke about the Retroware family, but it really is kind of like that. I mean, it's been wonderful. And
I was actually curious. I never completely understand why people would leave, because as far as I'm concerned, like it's just I just put the Retroware logo on the video, and that's really all the involvement that's sort of required of me. But it just it doesn't tie me to Retroware. It doesn't. It was just it was like very minimal involvement. So I didn't think it was that big of a thing.
No.
But obviously some people felt they want. I don't know what their reasons were for leaving Retroware at any point. But if you look at somebody like LGR, he was there for super long. Even when he became really, really big, went over 100, 200, 300,000 subscribers, he was still in Retroware, still posting, and
Yeah, we were probably more strict years ago with the requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, we would mostly ask that videos would be posted. We would get like a day or two head start on the site, so that whether or not the video was unlinked or it was posted on Blip first, like the other provider we used, and then put on YouTube afterwards. So we used to do that more, and that sometimes got people into the mindset of like, well, I'd rather just control the release schedule on YouTube and just take off with YouTube. And I'm like, and YouTube was growing like astronomically at that time, so it made a lot of sense that if you could just build and foster your audience there, and just not worry about any kind of tie-up or connection or even a logo up front, and understandable. I mean, it happens. So we never, like Lance and I always did this as a hobby, really. I mean, it was nice when it did make some money, or it afforded us the ability to buy some old games or go to a couple events. But it's and other people have bigger aspirations than that. And if they have bigger aspirations than just us having our little clubhouse, we completely understand.
That's fair enough.
Some of these guys are insanely talented. I mean, Norm was up with us for years and years and years. He took some time off, and then he went back, and now he's just gangbusters, and it's just incredible.
He's doing really well,
and it's great.
There's something very nice. Like sometimes I rewatch as well some episodes of the Game Chasers, like the early seasons, and it's funny because. And I again, you mentioned GameSack. I get the same feeling whenever I hear the intro of GameSack, but it's just all those sounds that he had in the intro, the Retroware intro and all that, like it just brings up some very recent nostalgia in a way for me. Like there's something really cool and still nostalgic about something that's, all things considered, quite recent. It's funny. I get nostalgic for early Retroware content. Yeah, it's a funny thing. Like,
I think I had a few too many drinks a couple weeks back, and I started going on YouTube and watching stuff, and I started watching that episode of the Game Chasers where all of us got together at MagFest.
Yeah,
and we all made appearances on it, and I started tweeting out a couple pictures from that episode, and I said, "Is it weird to get nostalgic about a website about?"
There you go, yeah.
And yeah, because it was such a high point when we had like the most amount of people. We were firing on all cylinders, while other sites were starting to fade a little bit. We were still there. And it's just funny. I mean, for the most part, we've never let the brand turn into anything negative. Every group has its drama here and there, but it's been sort of minor. We hated drama. That was our main point, as that let's just try to avoid this as much as possible. And we weren't an official employer or anything, but it was just always good.
The name Retroware. Yeah, the name Retroware has never really been associated with anything negative or dramatic or anything like that. Like it's just it's always been a sort of a fun, very nice sort of brand. I find anyway.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Anyway,
hey, it's yours too. You know. Thank God you put out. Thank God we get your music videos like every week. It's fantastic.
So so obviously, well, that's the thing. So now Retroware is sort of moving on. I don't know how much you can talk or say about it, but you're essentially passing the torch, aren't you? At some point.
Yes. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything. This will be honestly the first time we talk about it outside of basically everybody in the team. But
yeah. Well, we don't have to. I mean, it's.
Oh no! I don't mind talking a little bit about it. I mean, there's still a lot of things. Could you hear me? I see that. Okay, cool. Yeah, basically, I've noticed. Lance and I, as managing the site, haven't had as much time or. As you can see, we have kids running around, and he has his kids at home, and we got ours, and all the responsibilities of work and commuting. We feel it's unfair that we haven't been able to keep pushing or growing this more. The fact that it's still there is great. The fact that it's pretty steady with its viewership, and our social presence keeps growing a little bit here and there. But we feel it makes a lot of sense to find a partner that could, take it to the next level. So we're working with Screenwave Media and Ryan Schott, who, is going to take the site and, bring it into his own group and continue it forward for that very reason, because Retroware as a brand is it's still pretty good, and it has a lot more potential. And it's hard for us to basically sign away the name, but it's more of, we're signing away the name, but, we still have some ownership of it to some degree. So it's, because we can never completely let go, and I still want a place to post things. So, but I know that they could put a lot more effort and investment behind it, and it would make us proud to see it continue to flourish in some way, instead of like dying in mediocrity and like the stagnant level. So we don't want that to happen. Which
is, in fairness, I mean, sites, aggregating sites like Retroware, like a lot of other sites, have been struggling as of late to find the audience and actually develop further, because it's the audience has changed. I think the hobby has changed slightly, and the interest has changed as well, and just everything now is really about the YouTubers, and even that is changing as well. So these are funny times for most online content, actually. It'll be interesting to see what they do, if they have plans, or what they can do as well. I mean, it's an interesting time. Obviously, you must have been thinking about it for a while. It wasn't an overnight decision to. Yeah, we had, there were options years back to do similar things, to maybe sell it, to merge it. We were just way too reluctant to get rid of anything, to tell you the truth. We didn't want to get rid of our baby. It's your baby, man. Yeah, exactly. And it was tough. But Lance and I, honestly, we talked about it. We went back and forth a few times, and we're like, I just don't want it. It's like we should just shut the thing down, and we're like, we can't do that. There's too much, brand equity in this thing. There's got to be some option here. And we had a couple conversations and said, yeah, it's the way to go. Let's see if we can partner up, or get something signed over, and let's just see this name continue to thrive. That's really cool. I remember, because I remember. It was the last Retro World Expo I was at, so it's not last year, it's the one before, or maybe it could be the one. Yeah, because that was 2016. Yeah, the last one was 2017. I remember the Retroware panel, and Lance was talking about all the people you guys have had on it, and you were talking about the video game years as well, stuff. But and I remember Lance getting quite emotional near the end of his speech, talking about all the people that they've met and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that sounds like a goodbye letter of sorts. And I was wondering at the time, I was like, are they going to finish it, or is it going to take a different form? Or I was like, but were you I had a feeling you were thinking about it back then already. Yeah, there was no real plan or even option at that point. I think we were
with the expo at the time, see, I was involved with that, with Retro World Expo in 2016. Last year's, I pulled myself away. I had started a new job, and I was not dedicating enough time to what needed to be done. So I no longer work on the expo. But at that time, 2016, we were working our ass off on the expo, and we knew that the site was behind. We knew that the video game years had ended. We knew we had a great crop of people up on the site and groups of friends, and consistency there, but we knew that we're not gonna, our own content that we would love to do, the stuff that Lance and I produce, we just haven't been doing it as much. And we're like, it felt like it was not. I remember that panel, because it was kind of like, we were getting nostalgic for the 10 years it had been, and it was also, we're a little bit sad that it hasn't grown more, but at the same time, it was just awesome that we've made the friends we have and able to hang with the people we have. Because 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was, you would run into people here and there at conventions, but when we found a whole group of like-minded, really ambitious, creative people who just happened to be bananas for video games, it was just great. It was such a cool way to find people.
Yeah. That's really. What happens then to the video game years franchise? Is that separate technically to Retroware? Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, there's no reason to pass on that as well.
No, the actual
Retroware.
Yeah, the agreement makes sure that the video game years is completely separate. It's an entity that's essentially owned by Lance, myself, and Pat, the NES Punk. But it's basically equal rights ownership between Pat and Retroware, and that happened about a year before we completed the show. The amount of time and effort we put into it without any payment, and the amount of time and effort Pat put into it with zero payment. We were like, this is a fair and equitable way. Let's split the show with you, because we need you to help continue to drive this forward, and also for the work you've done. So ongoing, there would be any kind of revenue share that we can do, but we want to make sure that was separate, because we intend to continue the show.
That's great.
And even the agreement we have for the transition of Retroware, we would still have it say Retroware TV presents the video game years, if we wanted to do that. Because that's really that was our big hit from an internally produced standpoint.
It's such a great show, and I'm glad you guys finally got it on. Is it Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
And it did really well. Is it still doing well there?
It did insanely well the month after it launched. For about 2 straight months, it was shocking how well it did.
I remember
it was popping up on people's popular on TV feeds, and it was crazy, and it grew, it like hit that algorithm where it was getting recommended, and then it tailed off, and it's basically plateaued, but it's still honestly doing better than anything that we had ever done on YouTube. And and that consistency there is nice, but we know that we built it was fun, because the show was always intended on being a full length, here we go, 1 hour per year show. We just cut it up particularly for YouTube launches, and that we were able to put it all together into cohesive pieces like we put out on the DVDs, and then launch it on Amazon all at once. It was just, we got a whole new audience. There were a bunch of people obviously that had never seen this before, because it wasn't huge on YouTube, and people who liked it before got on there. People who had no idea what this was binge watched it, and we could see by the metrics how it was going, and we were like, wow, it kind of sparked new life into it, because we felt like we were, we stopped making the show. The last episode premiered at the end of 2016 and on YouTube, and that was even shot honestly 10 months prior. It took forever to get the shows done. It was just amazing. It kind of made us feel like we had another chance to maybe continue again. And so we've been planning, and we all have weird schedules, but between Pat and Lance and I, we have some preliminary ideas. I'm actually working on a whole budget and PowerPoint of what we would need to do to launch a Kickstarter, and what we would need, and to get into the 90s. And we would have to be a little more ambitious this time. Wow. But I think it's possible. So we hope to do something.
It's a nice incentive to see that it was doing well on at least a platform like Amazon Prime, where and I think that's the right platform for it. I don't think YouTube at all is the right platform for a show like that. I was saying to Lance as well, I remember, because I was a huge fan of the show. It's such a really well produced show, and
thank you.
Just really cool. And I know I knew then, I know now that yourself and Pat had done a ton of work, pretty much on this, and it was so criminal to see. The show, on your channel, it was getting some views, but I remember Pat was putting small chunks of each episode on his channel, and they were barely making a couple of thousand views sometimes. And I was like, this is so criminal. It's such a good show. It's so well produced, so actually very interesting, very well put together, well researched, and entertaining. And then nobody gave a fuck about it. It was
I know. It made us,
to watch. Yeah,
it was infuriating, and it was infuriating. I mean, the only thing that made it, the comments were almost all positive on our videos, which was insane to think of. But people would be saying that, like, this is criminal that this doesn't get more views, and we're like, yeah, we think so too. And then it was just so vindicating to see it do well on Amazon. I was like, this is the platform for this. And honestly, I mean, we put it on Amazon with the thought that it would be an opportunity for people to pay to download the episodes, like download to own. What we didn't realize was that had nothing to do with it. It was all going to be the Prime streaming. It was just going to be, it was huge. I mean, I couldn't. It made us feel, we almost patted ourselves on the back a little bit. Yeah. We were like, look, see, it was a good show.
But you see that sometimes on Netflix, like you see stuff popping up every now and then on Netflix that were recorded like years and years ago, and they do well, and suddenly, like these platforms are actually perfect for content like that has been produced, probably hasn't found the right audience on the platform that it was on initially, and then suddenly it's on a platform like Amazon Prime, like Netflix or whatever other ones there are, but and it finds a nice audience there.
It was so cool, and it restarted our talks about what we're gonna do next, because it was always in the back of our minds, but damn, the time and the effort and the number of people that were involved, we really need to make it worth our while up front, as well as for those who work on the show. I mean, we gave stipends of like nothing to get people to do this. I mean, we raised in our first Indiegogo for the 1980s episodes, we raised like $11,000, which meant that every episode was like $1,100, and that's insane to think. Like, our last episode, the 1989 episode, was an hour and 20 minutes long. I mean, we had like a full-length, feature-length episode about just video games released in the States in 1989.
Wow. Yeah, one grand.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, how much would you say, like, if you had to pay people the right price, and I don't know, in a TV environment, like, how much would an episode of the Video Game Years cost?
I mean, if I had if
everybody had to take their proper cut.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think like it'd have to be $12,000 an episode, just because, people were happy to take part in the project. Because it did feel like this group effort, and that was nice. People were happy to be a part of it, and that's why they gave their time. And we just paid whatever we could, because we did have some kind of budget, but it was just very small. And there were so many segments, and there were so many editors. That's the only way to properly cover things. And honestly, and even to cover like our producer fee just to do it a little bit, because damn, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that's the thought, but it's still preliminary. I'm still working on the budget line items. But it was funny because it was a show idea I had many years ago. Well, I mean, VH1 had the idea many years ago because it's I Love the 80s show. But it's that format. But I was like, we could do this, year over year with video games. It would be fun. And I said, we just don't have enough of the guys yet as part of Retroware to really do it. Yeah. And then we got to that point when 2012, 2013, when it's like, well, we got this huge group of people on the site. I bet we could do this. So I took it upon myself to organize it and get that first episode made, which is why it's so darn slow, that 1977 episode, because I did everything in that other than people shooting themselves on green screen. I did all the editing and the music and whatever weird effects there were. It was very basic then. And we showed it at we showed a kind of a smaller version of it at MagFest, and it was the first time anybody had seen it, including people on the site, and they were like, whoa, I can see this working. And so it grew from there.
Wow.
And it was nice. It was like a big Retroware, family adventure.
Yeah. No, it really is, because what people don't realize is, like, Retroware has, like, the most visible people on Retroware are obviously YouTubers, but there's writers, you guys have people who can do editing really well, like special effects and more sort of 3D stuff. Like, it's just there's a pool of really talented people that work as well, sort of, I was going to say behind the scenes, but not so really, but that aren't as visible really as the YouTube stuff, that are extremely talented as well, and that help in the video game years.
I mean, just look at the credits and the editors on it. It's like a best of YouTubers. We had, Joe Redifer from GameSack edited a ton of segments. Corey Carlson, My Life in Gaming, edited a ton of segments. Michael Lissizin from Living in 8-Bits. It's just all these guys and girls, but mostly guys, which honestly is something we fix in the next episodes. It was one of the things we kind of regret a little bit, is when we watched the show, we're like, geez, there's a lot of white guys on the show. Could we spread it out a little bit? But it would just happen to be like all the guys on the site.
That's a recurring theme whenever there's a panel. Every time that's a lot of white people in the room. White guys.
I know some of the few negative comments we got. It's like, hey, maybe some girls. I'm like, well, we had one girl, but it wasn't on purpose. It was just to be who we knew that we could get.
People look for stuff to get upset about. It's just the way it happens, guys. It's just but it's like you mentioned Joe Redifer. Like, he's a seriously good editor as well. I mean, I really like, especially when you start editing stuff yourself, you kind of realize how much work is behind any sort of editing, and you start appreciating what other people do in their videos. Like, it's one of the reasons as well I do videos on YouTube now, like not just music, but I edit my music videos and I do other stuff. It's just like I like to try different things so I can appreciate the work of other people when they do it really well. That's one thing I started appreciating a lot more now that I've been on YouTube for a few years, is the good editors and good editing. And it's unfortunately not as transparent, because good editing isn't obvious, and unfortunately it gets lost in a lot of YouTube content that. But I get it, really, an understanding and appreciation of good editing. Pat is a very good editor as well, I find.
It was great to watch on these segments, because we had so many different editors doing final cuts that, even though that kind of messed with the cohesiveness going from one segment to the next, which we try to fix in the future, you really got to see where people's chops were. The way people were able to, even just the craft elements of it, like being able to color correct well, being able to layer in like CG backdrops, or be able to manipulate the green screen elements to make the talking heads pop up in different locations. It was incredibly impressive to see, and it was always a joy to be like, getting the notice, hey, we finished the final cut, want to have a look? And I'd be, we had to stay critical, and we had to make suggestions, but sometimes I'd see some of these segments and be like, oh my God, that's so awesome. I was like, that's incredible that that's being done for the show. And Yeah, no, that was part of the joy of it. And yeah, God, some guys are just so good.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying early on, I was rewatching some of the Retroware content, and very early on as well, you had green screen stuff. I remember, but I mean, nowadays we know what green screen is, and we know to look for the artifacts, and we spot them very quickly. But it was still, I mean, when you watch them back now, it's still impressive. I find like it was quite convincingly done. Now with HD, obviously green screen has to be like crystal sharp, and
yeah.
But back then it just wasn't. You couldn't, unless you had super expensive equipment. But and even that. But I think those videos still hold up pretty well. Have you any plans then to move stuff like the video game years onto another platform like Netflix or
if they want it?
Yeah. How does that work? Do you propose it, or do you send it to them, or?
Yeah, Lance and I were talking about this about a week back, because he was thinking that these places are just
I asked him already, yeah.
And so we know a couple guys I think that are there, so we might try to reach out. But yeah, I think we would have to put together a full package and somehow get it to them. Almost like a pitch.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the official forums through Netflix. We had done a pitch once before for cable networks. Very basic. We would find someone we knew in the industry, or who we knew that worked at a place. Like I put together some material for, I think it was Discovery America, which later changed formats completely. Yeah. It was, some people would care. Honestly, putting it out yourself and putting it out on a streaming service, you don't have to worry about all that profit sharing. You get a good chunk of that revenue right up front.
Yeah,
I think if we had sold it to a cable network, we probably would have done worse than we did on Amazon. But Netflix, I think that would be a good place. That would be awesome.
I think so.
Especially if we got some investment from a group like Netflix or even Amazon themselves to say, like, here, we like the show. Here's a pile of money to help produce it. Just make sure you put it up on us exclusively.
Yeah,
I'd be like, sure.
Oh yeah, that's a golden ticket there. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be incredible. That would be like, because, good. I don't have to do my regular work. I can do this now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, you can look at some of the shows on Netflix, and they have stuff that is like four episodes of 40 minutes, and then some of it is actually interesting, and you go like, is there any more? And no, that was it. Like, so stuff like the video game years, even like 1 year or 2 years, would be perfect for a platform like that. And then recently they had that sort of toys show, which is very much like very not dissimilar to stuff like the video game years or stuff you'd see on YouTube that is researched. So
it was super well produced. I love how they segmented it into 4 major toy groups, and even though it was a talking head kind of show, you didn't always see the talking heads. I have a feeling that the video game years is such a standard normal format that it continued throughout the whole life of the show so far. I mean, maybe we shake it up a little bit, and because it is a little bit of a dated format now. Yeah. But I mean, maybe because we were even just talking about that for like that toy show, how well it was done, and how maybe that's an approach we take this time out. But we'll see. It's maybe we could do another show like that, and it's obviously there's an appetite for this. It's not like video games is a small industry. No. My God. So it's just making sure that you're honest about it, you're approachable to some degree. You can't be just so in the weeds, geekdom. It has to be somewhat at the surface to some level, but still enough passion or information being shared that it's authentic in a way.
But I think it's already like the video game years is already like that, because I have friends who I've recommended the show to on YouTube. Fiona watched it a few times with me, and she's not a gamer at all. But she enjoys the show itself.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, and I think
we've heard it. Yeah, we tried to do that. We tried our best to balance it the way that kind of way. It's like, well, we can't go too nutty, but
No, I don't think it is.
So, no, thanks. I appreciate it. And like, it's a testament. I say thank you, but honestly, there's so many people working on the show. It's all of theirs.
Yeah.
They all did this, and it was...
You guys worked super hard on it. Like, I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'm ready.
I always thank the editors. I'm like, God, what you guys made this show. I mean, I did the format editing at the end where I compiled it all into its cohesive unit, and we reviewed all the pieces that came in from the editors, but still, it was just so collaborative.
So what is John Delia doing as a job these days?
I actually work for General Motors. I work for Cadillac.
I remember a while back, you posted something on Facebook. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I always try to pump up the brand wherever I can. No, it's great. I actually, it's so weird to be working in the auto industry. I had never worked in the auto industry before, but over the last 2 years of being there, it was a crash course because I work across a whole bunch of different functions that touch everything from manufacturing to all the way through marketing, and it's incredible. It's a whole different animal, that's for sure, but it takes up a lot of time, and plus my commute is honestly like an hour 40 minutes each way every day. It's intense.
I know you guys in the US drive a lot for commute, but is that a lot? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's excessive. I drive into New York City every day, and I do it because I got a company car. They give me a Cadillac, so I get to drive in. I'm like, if you guys are going to give me a Cadillac, I'm driving in.
Oh no!
But yeah, no, it's been great. Other than that, it's so funny because when I was looking forward to doing this call with you, and I'm thinking, geez, I still have like 3 videos I need to get done for the website or for, the YouTube channel. I have to do a review of this Neo Geo MVS to AES converter called Fusion.
Yeah.
Which is I got, and I bought it from them, so I don't feel as guilty that I haven't done the review yet. It's not like they gave it to me. But then there's another record that I was sent from, because we've been doing a lot of vinyl music, video game soundtrack reviews, and because we dig vinyl so much. And then I got one of those, and I got some like NES homebrews I got to test out. So, I'm falling behind already.
That's another question actually I wanted to ask you is what happens to the Retroware channel then? Is it? Are you handing that over? Or are you keeping it but renaming it, or?
I think. We basically what should happen when it does happen, and nothing is. It's only in like this kind of transition phase right now. When you see Twitter, it's still me doing the tweets mostly. The Facebook, it's me. Instagram, it's me. But we're gonna hand over all the social media at one point. I think I might still have something to do with it here and there. Because I just love tweeting so much. But I just constantly do it. But the YouTube channel would transition over. I don't think anything on it as it currently stands would be removed in any way. I think it would be utilized in a different way. I think it might be more group at some point, but honestly the strategy it sits with Screenwave. We only had kind of a basic talk about it, sort of like, where do you see the direction going? What is your intent? What are you trying to do? And, it sounded great to us. And if it goes through, if it continues that way, then we're happy. He could turn it into a My Little Pony fan site for all I know, but I hope not. I don't think that would fly very well.
No, I don't think so.
But I think it'll be good. The good news is that, the good news for Lance and I is that one of the stipulations we said is like, hey, we still want to make videos whenever we can and put them somewhere. Please tell us we can put them here. And he said, yeah, of course. So at least we get to have a place to post still.
Because I was telling Lance as well, one of the reasons I got interested into arcade machines and arcade restoration and all that kind of stuff was seeing the stuff that you guys were doing, but he was doing quite a bit as well himself on different arcade reviews and bits, and then that sort of started my interest in doing that myself at some point, restoring arcade machines. And then when I went over to his place and I saw his basement with
you saw it. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, okay, that's it. I got to get me some of that. Yeah, that was really cool. It was seeing his stuff on Retroware that really started me kind of prompted me to get into the more into the arcade stuff, because I enjoyed arcade probably even more so than home consoles at the time. Like I have the MSX still, and it's running in the background.
Oh God, I know I bother you like every few months saying, hey, what MSX should I get again? Because I'm starting to go back down that hole of like, I gotta get one, and I gotta get all this stuff, and I've been dying to get an MSX forever. And
there's no, I mean, it's a standard, so they're pretty much all the same. So if you want to get something, I think an MSX2 is the way to go. People would argue MSX2 Plus, you got the scrolling, the register that makes smooth scrolling and that kind of stuff, which is true, which is what I have. Actually, I'm running right now Space Manbo on that, and it's got that nice smooth scrolling without the clipping, but it's that much more expensive, and only a few games use it. Most stuff that is compatible with MSX2 will run on MSX2 Plus will run on MSX2 without the smooth scrolling.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. So I think that's, I mean, just from what I'm going to spend point of view, I might do that. Yeah. Spend, and also how often am I really going to play it? I mean, that's the thing. I have, like, honestly, so many consoles, because I'm more of a console collector than a game collector. I just dig the hardware so much that I have so much of it. It's like a museum down here. I mean, behind me, it's just like this rack of stuff. Like, I was always the console guy, and Lance was, you know, I loved RPGs and adventure games, and, like, you know, digital comics kind of games, like a Snatcher or a Police Knots and Chrono Trigger. And Lance was the I love Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter guy, and it was great because we had these two different. I mean, not that we don't like the same stuff anyway, but he loved that and I didn't. And I came from this other more weird realm of games, and I loved the imports and the weird consoles. And he was always an arcade guy, and the stuff that he can do with machines is, I mean, the way he restored that Donkey Kong cabinet of his, it's like it was like a Jaguar or something from the 1960s. That care and the work that he put in there. It's beautiful. So yeah, he knows his stuff when it comes to that. I mean, I love that show he does. I know it doesn't come out as often as I'd like, the arcade show, because it's I mean, reflashing ROMs and all that. I mean, it's incredible. You can crazy things.
I fix my own boards as well nowadays, so I
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's I have a Galaxian I repaired recently.
Did you post pictures of that one?
I did,
I saw that.
I post the repair videos on my other channel, but I haven't branded them as Retroware, because I'm not sure people are interested really in seeing that, because there's no editing on them whatsoever. It's just me rambling in a very monotone voice and just showing chips.
I am feel free if you want to post them.
You need to be super nerdy to enjoy these. So anyway. But
awesome.
it was Lance sort of that prompted me to look into this, and then I discovered other YouTubers that were doing stuff like that. This is John's Arcade, which is very good for kind of bulk machine restoring, and then there's other guys that have very good knowledge for the actual electronics part. So it got me from knowing very little about it to now. I can. Well, obviously, I can reprogram my EPROMs, but I can also troubleshoot and decode some of the code in assembler and that kind of stuff. And
that's awesome.
I have a monitor there that I need to recap and troubleshoot, and but there's so much available nowadays. Like you're not really operating blind like the people who really know their stuff, and then some really good people that genuinely know their stuff would have done and documented. I just need to go to a website where it goes, if it's this problem you replace this, if it's this problem you replace this. But you just need the equipment. But it was Lance that I have to thanks for that. It was great.
Yeah, I think I remember when he's like, I'm going to recap a monitor for the first time. He's like, wish me luck. I'm like, yeah, don't die, man. Go for it.
I recapped a few as I got zapped twice.
Oof.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
No, that's a lot. I mean, how did you, and you're all right. That's good.
I had hair before it happened. But it's just I know you discharge them, but sometimes they can get sort of keep some charge, and I didn't discharge it enough. Anyway, that happens. You take precautions, but sometimes it happens. But it's just it's exciting time, I think, I suppose, for Retroware, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do as well for the video game years, if anything, because I missed that show, and yeah, I think there's so much more, or more platforms you could get onto, and there's more that could be done with that show, and I wish you guys well.
Thank you so much. I mean, it is exciting. I mean, I saw a couple mock-ups that were sent over from Ryan about, just basic look at what the site might look like on a new rebuild, and it just has this clean look, and it's more modern, and I'm like, this is cool. I'm starting to get excited again, and it's not even me doing it. It makes it easier. So, and yeah, in video game years, we definitely want to continue. We just have to work around our schedules and get there, and we don't want to miss the boat either. We don't want people. The good thing is I don't think people are gonna all of a sudden be like, oh, it's too late to talk about 90s video games. So I think we still got some time. But
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we definitely want to continue.
It's funny with retro gaming because people talk about the retro bubble, and it's definitely something that probably is affecting the resale market. But I think the interest is still very much there. And there's certain, I mean, I never get tired of rewatching stuff about video games from the 70s and 80s because that's my era, I'm that old, so I could rewatch them again and again. I think there's still demand for content like that. Maybe the demand for the hardware itself, for the games themselves, will probably diminish because there's so many reeditions, especially with stuff like the NES Classic, and looks like there might be an N64 at some point, but there's so many reedition that demand is constantly refed. But for actually video content and well-produced video content, I think that there's still going to be a demand for quite a while.
Yeah, I think so too, and yeah, and I do think, I mean, from a retro bubble standpoint, I mean, people are going to be getting older, and then the big spenders in their 20s and 30s are going to be from a time after cartridge, and it's just not going to have that same romanticism that it has for us, where we just want to have that physical media and pop it in, and it's going to come to my kids play video games too. I mean, the idea of putting in a cartridge, they only know it from playing playing an NES, because I make them play an NES, but they play Xbox, they play Xbox One, and they play games on the Nintendo DS and on the Switch, and the interchangeability of cartridges, it's just meaningless to them. So I know it's that element might be different, but the love of the games themselves and the memories of playing those games, regardless of the format, that's going to continue. Yeah,
or the interest, in seeing those, maybe not necessarily playing them and having them, but because you can see, I mean, it's stuff like the gaming historian is still doing really well. Like Norm is killing it.
Yeah.
And there's clearly it is a demand for well-researched and produced stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's an insanely interesting topic. I mean, it's an industry that's really only, 45 years old or so, and it's massive. I mean, it was massive when we started Retroware 10 years ago, and it continues to be, and it's still.
For people, I don't know how old you are. Like, I'm 40. I'll be 43 very soon. I don't know. I'd say you're probably in that ballpark somewhere.
I'm 30. What the hell am I? I'm 37.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm 37. I turned 38 in a couple months, and then it's.
But even still, I mean, it's we sort of were there in definitely the golden years, but when there was nothing, and then suddenly there was video games everywhere.
Yeah,
like we had no elements of comparison with anything. It just that's all, because people now, they can compare the PS4 with the PS3 or PS4 with the Xbox and that kind of stuff. Like, there was nothing to compare whatever we had to, and when things became available, well, we didn't know anyone that had that other machine necessarily to compare it to. So it was just an exciting time, and we were completely starved for content as well. There's no internet. Magazines were only available if you could get to the shop, which being a young country boy in France. I had no access to any sort of shops or magazines for that matter. So it completely starved for content. So every time I saw so much as a pixel in the photographs, like I was so drawn to it. And it was just such a, like my parents thought I was just going crazy, like being attracted to video games. But it was such a fascinating topic and content, and we were so starved for anything that anytime you see somebody with a video game, or a video game in a shop, or or something playing in a shop, or even on TV, you're going crazy. It was so exciting.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it was just getting it. No internet, so it was like you had to get your hands on something printed somewhere, or a tiny screenshot glimpse in an Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine. Or I mean, I had the Nintendo Fun Club, which came out before Nintendo Power did, and then I got Nintendo Power, and I had it like all the way through high school. And you ruin the book just like reading it over and over again, like trying to find out all this information. And I mean, then when the internet hit, it was crazy. We were able to find out whatever you could find, and emulation was just like rediscovering stuff that you just had no idea ever existed. But I remember when I was young, like this was probably 88 to 91, there was this video game store, an independent video game store that was actually near to my house, called Ultimate Game Club. And they were kind of like one of those mail order groups. So they were the ones at the back of the magazine where you'd find like the pricing sheet, and you would order it, and they'd send it to you like cash on delivery or credit card. But they had a storefront, so we used to go there, and they would have 4 or 5 monitors set up with game systems hooked up. But these are systems like, this is the NES era, maybe Genesis was out, but they had like a PC Engine, a Neo Geo hooked up. They would have some weird like FM Towns Marty system, like things that were just completely outside the realm of anything. And we were like, whoa. Yeah. And that made us, a few of my friends, like in the middle school years, start to go down that rabbit hole of like, oh my God, did you see that new Working Designs game on the Turbo Duo? Oh yeah, I know. And it's like nobody had this thing, but we were just digging, trying to find all the info we could, and that just continued for us, and we have this common story. I mean, you, me, the guys on the site, we were all kind of in that same group. We thought we were all kind of a small niche, but then there's a whole bunch of us.
I remember in school talking to somebody, and then I find out that he has got, what had he at the time? He had a Vectrex at the time. Now, I'd never heard of Vectrex. And I said, well, I have an MSX and blah, blah. So I went over to his place, checked his Vectrex, and I was like, dude, that's shit. It's funny at the time, like, and he was like, yeah, no, it's crap, like, it's not very good. And then he went to check the MSX. He was like, oh, wow, that's so good. So he couldn't find an MSX because they were still hard to find in France. But he got a Master System. So we ended up playing the Sega Master System at his place. And now he was happy because he'd won up on me, because the Master System was arguably better than the MSX. So we were playing those really cool games. And what was really cool is we'd play them together weekends and with Wednesdays afternoons off. So we'd play them Wednesday afternoons after school, and then weekends, with the agreement that he wouldn't play them during the week. So we played stuff like Phantasy Star and Is and all these RPG on the Master System together, which was really, really nice of him, like, to wait for me to play them again. And he had other games like arcade games and stuff like that he would play on his own, but yeah, all the stuff that were needed saves, or like the Dragon Trap, Wonder Boy 3, all that kind of stuff, we played together. It was really, really cool. What a time. And then he got an Amiga, and then I had to get an Amiga, and then what a time.
That's another one I want to pick up at some point. I think it was amazing.
I have a few of these. I have my old one still here, and then hello again.
Connor's back again.
But
hi, buddy.
Yeah, well, dude, I'll tell you what, it was a pleasure chatting to you. I'm really glad we did this, actually, because we met a few times at the Retro World Expo, and we never had the time to chat properly. And
oh, yuck.
Oh,
his
yuck.
nail is all right, I'll help you in a minute. We'll get a Band-Aid. Yes. Okay, now we're wrapping up. Okay.
Yeah, but thank you very much for taking time. You're obviously very busy, man, so that was really cool. But yeah, I'm glad we took the time to do this. We met a few times, and I was sorry we never got the time to chat properly and actually have a conversation. I was supposed to just drunken talk.
Yeah, I know. No, this was great. I hope to do it again. I mean,
definitely, yeah, we'll do it again, man. Definitely. Anytime you're free, I'm happy to have you back on it. There's plenty more stuff I'd love to talk to you about.
Yeah, we could talk about new games.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm starting to play them again.
I'm playing God of War at the moment. It's so good, cool. So good. Anyway,
good.
Dude, thank you very much. We'll chat again, and folks, thank you for watching. We'll see you all again.
Take care.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, man.
Hey, thank you.